proposed revisions that always seem to involve less respect for the rights of free nations and less freedom for the individual. These matters would be difficult under any circumstances. They are further complicated by a trend in Western countries away from global engagement and democratic confidence. Parts of Europe have developed an identity crisis. We have seen insolvency, economic stagnation, youth unemployment, anger about immigration, resurgent ethno-nationalism, and deep questions about the meaning and durability of the European Union. America is not immune from these trends. In recent decades, public confidence in our institutions has declined. Our governing class has often been paralyzed. The American dream of upward mobility seems out of reach for some who feel left behind in a changing economy. Bigotry seems emboldened. Politics seems more vulnerable to conspiracy theories and outright fabrication.
You both were members of Skull and Bones, a secret society at Yale. What does that tell us?
Not much, because it's a secret.
Is there a secret handshake? Is there a secret code?
I wish there were something secret I could manifest.
322, a secret number?
There are all kinds of secrets.
Now, as you may know, my running mate, Tim, is Catholic and went to Jesuit schools. And one of the things he and I have talked about is this idea from the Jesuits of the Magis, the more, the better.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another reading of Code Word Barbelon today. And today we're in chapter 37, The Rhodes Gang Instruments of the Round Table. And I'm joined here with Jörg Glissman. Jörg, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm very fine, Brad. Thank you very much. And today, for the people who don't know this yet, of course, because you didn't mention the date, is the 21st of April. A wonderful Sabbath, as well as it is for you, as it is for me. For the moment, we both are enjoying the Sabbath. You're in the morning, me in the afternoon.
Yes.
I don't know how the weather is over there, but we have here already in my apartment about 80 degrees. And outside, it is not much more than that. So sunshine, the last days, really nice. But next week, they told us the thermometer will fall back to about 50 degrees. So it will get much cooler. And yeah, you know, this is what they say about April. We have a saying in German that says, April, April, der macht, was will, which means April, April, he does as he wants, as he pleases.
Oh, yeah,
so,
yeah, no doubt. Yeah, we got the flip side of it here.
Yeah, it's not a miracle that you have very hot days and then cold days, very sunny days and then rainy days. That's in stormy days also a lot.
Oh, yeah.
But this year we have been blessed with an April that is quite warm. And the most fantastic thing is my apple tree has already 4 flowers put out and the leaves are coming out now. It's really coming to life, and that is just wonderful to see.
Nice.
So I'm enjoying that.
Absolutely, right.
I guess with you over there, it's still cold and snowy, right?
Oh, yeah, well, it's not as cold anymore. Yesterday was a high around 59. So the snow is actually still on the ground in heaps here and there, and then it's, of course, mud and leaves here and there in my yard.
So it's melting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, without any further ado, let us attend to the book. I had a funny comment today after I uploaded yesterday. I think it was Thursday afternoon. I uploaded the first part of Code Word Barbelon.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's quite some time, you know. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
And there was one guy who said in that video, "What is the book about? I got tired waiting to know the first 40 minutes." So I couldn't help to make a remark to him and answer him. And I answered him, okay, then you are at the wrong place because you'll never make it through probably 200 sessions.
Yeah, that's about it, too.
And he answered, I don't think so. All the power to you, though. Okay. So, whatever. I don't know which is the part that we are on today. Is that somewhere in the 50s, 60s, or 70s?
Yeah,
I didn't count, and you,
somewhere in there. Yeah, that's right.
yeah, and you didn't count yet either. Otherwise, you
Well, yes,
would have told us.
I have actually, but only up to 60, and I know that we're well above that now. So
Okay.
I don't keep track too much anymore. It's too much.
Okay, so let's go to the interesting part of this video, which is going into the book that we are not going to let you wait, as the guy just wrote about 40 minutes and he still doesn't know what the book is all about. By the way, then he didn't have a good listen, because in the first 40 minutes we spoke about what is on the back of the book of Cold War Babylon. And if he doesn't know from that what it is all about, then it's just a person who doesn't pay attention. And when you don't pay attention, you know what? Then just go to your television, watch Donald Duck or Mickey Mouse, and don't hurt yourself busy with serious things like the Bible and exposing secret societies that have the aim to pave the road that Rome can rule the whole world. Yeah, because that's what this book actually is all about. Now, this chapter 37 starts on page 374 for the people who read along in their own copy of the book, and this chapter is, as you said already, is called The Rhodes Gang, Instruments of the Round Table. It starts with a quote from Jesuit Professor Carroll Quigley, who was at Georgetown University and wrote several books. Among one is the most known, that is Tragedy and Hope, of course. And his quote reads, "I know of the operations of this network because I have studied it for 20 years." Unquote. The astute reader cannot but recognize the source and purpose of the Rhodes-Milner plot. Let us examine this Orwellian-like plan more closely. We learn from Professor Quigley and the Chicago Tribune that the following well-known international organizations or network, most of which are secretive organizations, were set up under the Rhodes-Milner scheme. And now comes a little summary of 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10 different quote-unquote secret organizations, not all that secret, because it starts with the Times, which is a very well-known American magazine and no secret society, and it ends with the United Nations, which actually is a secret society, but so out in the open that everybody only knows the exoteric teaching of it, and nobody knows the esoteric teaching.
Good point, Jörg. Yeah.
Now, I made a little remark to Brett in the beginning of our phone call that I said I want to start reading a little bit of the book from Eric John Phelps, Vatican Assassins, in the beginning of this book. That's why I'm still sitting at my computer and not outside on the terrace. Well, I will go to the terrace in an instant, but for reading this here, I need to be on the computer, because Vatican Assassins I have on my computer as a PDF. And one of these secretive organizations that he sets up, that were set up under the Rhodes-Milner scheme, starts with the Times. Now, the Times was founded by Henry Luce. Okay, Henry R. Luce. And I'm going to read to you a little quote from Vatican Assassins in that regard that is maybe interesting for you to learn. So, he says, "Then, one day in 1962, 3 puppets of the Jesuits," speaking of JFK, Khrushchev, and Castro, "overseen by the intelligence agencies of the Knights of Malta, the CIA and the KGB, created the hoax called, quote-unquote, the Cuban Missile Crisis. That deceit was based on another hoax called the, quote-unquote, the Cold War, which in turn was based on yet another hoax called, quote-unquote, nuclear war. The fear created by the American press, controlled by Cardinal Spellman through his Knights of Malta, Henry R. Luce," and now listen, "whose nickname as one of Yale's Skull and Bones members was appropriately Baal, resulted in a secret agreement between the superpowers. That agreement, prohibiting an American invasion of Cuba, secured the island as a landing base for a future foreign invasion of the American Protestant South, pursuant to the evil Council of Trent, unquote. Now, what I found so intriguing, that's why I was looking that up. I just wanted to get a little bit more info on Luce, the founder of Time magazine. But when I did a word search in Vatican Assessments, and I stumbled upon that, he says that the nickname of Henry Luce in the Skull and Bones Secret Society was appropriately Baal. I couldn't help to read this little quote when we are going to start now the reading of Code Word Babylon. I think you agree with me, Brett, that that is quite an interesting nickname that he chose there. Huh?
Yeah.
Baal.
Jeez.
Yeah. We know of Adam Weishaupt, who called himself in the Illuminati Spartacus. Also a very interesting nickname, of course. Yeah.
That's probably more interesting than Baal.
Well, Baal is actually another name for Satan, isn't it?
I know, but is he using it mockingly? You know, they probably joke about it, you know?
No, it's a nickname that he chose in the Society of Skull and Bones. So, like George W. Bush and all the guys who are initiated in that secret Society of Skull and Bones have a nickname, a name that is only known to the members of the society there. So that is not mocking anything or so. It is quite serious.
Weird. Yeah. Just, I don't know. To me, it's just their whole thing is so weird. I'm glad that I don't get it entirely.
Well, I hope that you get it a little bit more with my reading and explanation of it.
Oh, I sure do. But I mean, you know what I mean in terms of, I certainly don't see fully, you know, the inner working of it. But anyway, let's continue. That's just
I think where you have problems with is the question is, how can anybody who knows the Bible and who knows how this quote-unquote game is going to end willingly play for the side that is meant to lose?
I know. That's it. You got it. You just nailed it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So, we are speaking now about this following well-known international organizations or a network, which are most of them secret organizations set up under the Rhodes-Milner scheme. The Times, and we spoke about Henry Luce, the founder of the Times already. Then we have the Bilderberg Group, which was founded by Ratzinger, a Knight of Malta. Then we have the America's Bohemian Grove Club, the pedophile sodomistic club of former and ruling American presidents in San Francisco. Then we have the Club of Rome. Then we have the Council on Foreign Relations, the Neurocam International. We have the Rhodes-Milner Roundtable groups, which is in short just the Round Table. And then we have a very interesting one that is the Royal Institute of International Affairs, aka Chatham House. The Chatham House that is over there in the United Kingdom is the European branch of the Council on Foreign Relations. What the Council on Foreign Relations is for the United States of America is the Royal Institute of International Affairs, also known as the Chatham House, in Europe. That is a fact a lot of people do not know. And then, of course, we have the Trilateral Commission and, as I mentioned already, the United Nations. Now, these are some of the quote-unquote instruments which Carol quickly says are at the disposal of the Rhodes Secret Society. At the disposal, isn't that an interesting formulation?
Yeah, sure is.
All these secret societies will be used to further the goal of the Rhodes Secret Societies. And that goal, well, we come to that in a minute, so I'm not commenting on that. You can see for yourself while I'm reading this. Anyway, he tells us that in New York, the Roundtable Group was known as the Council on Foreign Relations. These roundtable instruments, says Quigley, were designed to promulgate the idea of the formation of a federal or one world government based on the notion of the unification of the British Empire and the United States of America. This British-American reunification lark is a ruse in the best Jesuit tradition. The reader will recall that Quigley, who was a Jesuit, tells us that the Constitution of the Round Table, the Council on Foreign Relations, and those many organizations founded by the Rhodes Wills, such as the Rhodes Scholarship Fund, etc., are all based on the constitutions of the Jesuits, with the words Roman Catholic Church merely being replaced by British Empire. So, as I stated already before, they are actually working for the advancement of the agenda of the Antichrist in the Roman Catholic Church, but outwardly putting the British Empire in there. The British Empire is an empire long gone, by the way. So, they are actually working, of course, for the Roman Catholic Church. And I said that already earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, these institutions are little more than actors in a puppet show. The reader may wish to consult Larry Abraham's Call It Conspiracy, a well-documented exposé of the CFR. It has even been intimated that General Booth, founder of the Salvation Army, played a role in the Rhodes Round Table Group. There are also claims that Cherry Blair, wife of former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair, is an ancestor of Mr. Booth and the notorious John Wilkes Booth, the assassin of Abraham Lincoln. But that's an aside. The following reports, clipped from the Chicago Tribune, are particularly worthy of mention. In the July 15, 1951 issue, the Tribune ran an article by William Fulton entitled, quote, Rhodes Ideals Slant State Department Policies, unquote, subtitled, quote, Key Posts Held by Oxford Scholars, unquote. It read, hold on. Key positions in the United States Department of State are held by a network of American Rhodes Scholars. Rhodes Scholars are men who obtained supplement education and indoctrination at Oxford University, with the bills paid by the estate of Cecil John Rhodes. Rhodes wrote about his ambition to cause, quote, the ultimate recovery of the United States of America as an integral part of the British Empire, but this is a euphemism for the Roman Catholic Church. His intimates have admitted the scholarships were established for the primary purpose of instilling political bias rather than providing education, unquote. Now, this is a very profound quote that we've read here. Where do you ever read in a newspaper today, Brett, in an American newspaper like the Chicago Tribune, that Rhodes Scholars are men who obtained supplemental education and indoctrination? Where would you ever read that today, that they admit that so blandly in a newspaper, that people who are educated for the higher posts in American government are indoctrinated?
Wow. Yeah, these days, you never find this.
These days, you never find that.
Ever.
Right.
Ever. Nope.
And William Fulton makes it very clear here. He makes a very clear point. He says Rhodes wrote about his ambition to cause the ultimate recovery of the United States of America as an integral part of the Roman Catholic Church. That's the way you have to read it, because British Empire is replaced by Roman Catholic Church.
Ah, yes, that's right, as we read earlier here.
Yeah, and he says this out in the open. He says this on the Chicago Tribune in 1951.
Wow.
Incredible, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
But it goes on, Brett. The same newspaper on July 16th, 1951, so that's just the next day, William Fulton wrote another article, quote, Rhodes Ideas Find Fertile Ground in the United Nations, subtitled Scholars Advance British Schemes, unquote. Now, the quote reads as follows. American Rhodes Scholars, men who have received education and indoctrination at Oxford University, England, are prominent in the affairs of the United Nations. The United Nations is an outgrowth of schemes developed by the scholar's patron Cecil Rhodes. In his writings, the Diamond Despot of South Africa showed He hoped the scholarships would promote his grandiose idea. 32 American collegians go to Oxford each year under terms of Rhodes' will. Unquote. Now, all of a sudden, Brett, when I read that half an hour ago, I just looked over the first 2 pages or something of the thing that we are going to read today in the book.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't help but some thought shot in my mind. You know, there are, and this is about Eric John Phelps.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
There are many people who say Eric John Phelps is a bad person because he is a diamond dealer.
That's right.
And when he is accused with that, he says, well, it's not me, it's my wife that holds that company. But the point is, Cecil Rhodes was a diamond despot, as it is said here in the Chicago Tribune of 1951.
Mm-hmm.
In his writings, the diamond despot of South Africa showed he hoped the scholarships would promote his grandiose idea. Now, would it be too far-fetched to assume that also Eric John Phelps has then something to do with the Rhodes Scholarship and his wife even deals in diamonds?
Well, you know, it's interesting how this came about. Years ago when I was listening to Eric John Phelps, he was in some kind of argument with this other kind of corrupted researcher named, what's his name again now? Tex Mars.
Mm-hmm.
And Tex Mars is affiliated with what's the name of this? Genesis Communications Network. I know he was on a couple shows on there that I used to listen to. And that's kind of how I first found out about Tex Mars, and I thought he was interesting for a while. But then I came across Eric John Phelps, and they had some spat going, those two. And so Eric John Phelps was exposed as a diamond merchant by Tex Mars, and I thought, what? So I looked it up, and yeah, he is, and he admits it too. Eric John Phelps admitted it with his own mouth.
Yeah, he admits it, yeah.
He openly admits it. And that changed my view of Eric John Phelps, period. I had a much different view.
Up to today, Brett, it didn't change my view on Eric John Phelps.
No, I mean, I used to think Eric John Phelps was legit. I really did for a while.
Yeah, okay, I don't think that for a long time, but...
Yeah, but I mean, this is years ago.
Yeah, I understand. Everybody does his own research, and
right.
You are in some places farther in your research than I probably will ever go, and the other way around is true also.
I know.
Yeah?
This is how it works.
Yeah,
but anyway, yeah.
But the point that I wanted to make is just when we are reading here about this Rhodes Scholarship and this Rhodes Society. Oh, there's a plane going above me. I hope that you can still hear me.
Yeah.
Okay. That I thought, well, and now this is mentioned here that, of course, Rhodes made his fortune, which was about £3 million at the time of his death in the beginning of, 1902 or whatever,
mm-hmm.
And that he was a diamond dealer, and therefore, of course, we have this this African state, Rhodesia, as it was called, Zimbabwe, which is today.
Interesting.
Yeah, and there are the most African diamonds coming from. Because he was the miner there. And I just thought, what a coincidence that I've just read in the beginning of this chapter about the times, Henry Luce. Henry Luce being a Knight of Malta. I read about that in the book Vatican Assassins. And Vatican Assassins author Eric John Phelps is a diamond dealer. And this is just how there were two dots all of a sudden in my brains connected.
You bet.
I didn't make that connection before.
Right.
And that is what I found so interesting. And I hope that this kind of revelation will happen to a lot of people when they read this book, when they study this book with us, that they can make these kinds of connections and all of a sudden ask questions that would never have popped up in their minds before.
Good point, Jörg. I was going to point that out too a while back about the diamond merchant thing, but that was something I had realized, but I didn't connect it with Cecil Rhodes here. So thanks for bringing that up. That's perfect.
Okay. Now let's continue because I think it is getting even more interesting. And in the same Tribune of July 19th, 1951, so now we have had publications of the 15th of July, the 16th of July, and now from the 19th of July, that William Fulton was a busy bee at that month in 1951. In an article titled Rhodes Warthog Global Scheme in United States, subtitled Peril Propaganda for One World, Fulton reported the following, quote, Rhodes scholars returning from schooling and indoctrination, I can't get over that he uses that word already 3 times in his articles, it's just wonderful. Rhodes scholars returning from schooling and indoctrination at Oxford University, England, are the principal hawkers of globalist propaganda in the United States of America. Previous articles, read the one from 15th and 16th July, in this series have disclosed that many of the 1,185 living American Rhodes scholars have obtained key positions in the State Department, in the United Nations, and in the Economic Cooperation Administration and other government agencies where they have worked toward fulfillment of the schemes of their imperial patron. Their imperial patron. Who is their imperial patron? The Pope of Rome. Because the society does everything to bring back the quote-unquote British Empire, the Roman Catholic Church. So their imperial patron can only be the Antichrist of the Bible, the papacy in Rome. Don't you think?
Yeah. Good observation there, Jörg. I'm still waking up over here.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm trying to address you, Brett, to keep you awake.
Yeah. No, that's good. No, I'm not going to fall asleep. Trust me.
I know.
You know, it takes a while to get the train moving. You know what I mean?
Sure. like a diesel,
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, I'm just kidding with you, Brett.
Yeah, I do.
You have
I
to
know.
allow me
That's
that.
fine. Yeah. It's good to laugh, man.
I have devoted an entire chapter on the occult origin of the philosophy of the United Nations in Volume 2 to this work. So again, he makes a little bit advertisement to buy book 2, which we already did, and we are going to read this when this is finished. I'm very much looking forward to it. But first things first. First, we have to finish this book. It will suffice here, says P.D. Stewart, to quote the following statement from the Jesuit-trained David Spangler, Director of Planetary Initiative for the United Nations. Quote, no one will enter the New World Order until he or she will make a pledge to worship Lucifer. No one will enter the New Age unless he will take a Luciferian initiation. And we can read for that in confirmation in the source where P.D. Stewart has that from, and that is David Spangler speaking in 1991. He also wrote in his book Reflections on the Christ on pages 44 through 45 that, quote, Christ is the same force as Lucifer. Lucifer prepares man for the experience of Christhood. Spangler was the first Jewish congressman from Texas. He graduated from the Jesuit-run Princeton College and was a Freemason.
Thanks for reading that footnote, Jörg. I was going to say. I was just finishing reading when you started, and I was like, yes.
Now, Brett, let me ask you one question. How bad can one man become? He is a Jew who is Jesuit-trained and a Freemason. Is there anything you can add up to the pile of bullshit?
Well, let's see. Not really. I mean,
hardly, huh?
Maybe you could become a bishop or an archbishop. I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't even think that would be worse in this regard.
No,
I mean,
you're right.
Jesuit-trained Freemason and a Jew. I mean, who is he not betraying?
Yeah.
Who is he not betraying? When he is educated by Jesuits, he's betraying everything in the name and the Roman Catholic Church. When he's a Freemason, he's betraying all all quote-unquote Protestants who
Yep.
are organized in Freemasonry because they think they are doing a good thing. And he is a Jew. He is also deceiving all the Jews.
Yeah, that's right.
This David Spangler, when I read this here, must have been Satan incarnate.
Oh, yeah,
Especially-
certainly a man of sin, I guess.
Yeah, especially when you read this quote that he said, "No one will enter the New World Order unless he or she will make a pledge to worship Lucifer. No one will enter the New Age unless he will take a Luciferian initiation."
Okay, so you can just line me up in the guillotine and take my head right now, because I'm not going to live in a world like that. I can make that
Right.
statement openly, public. I don't care. Take my head now, have your world, and goodbye.
Absolutely, Brett. Absolutely. Now, P.D. Stewart continues to say, "I must also mention that the Lucis Trust, which was previously called the Lucifer Publishing Company, has the responsibility of managing the meditation room at the United Nations building in New York." And we were doing broadcasts, I mean, not you and I, but me and Michael Adams,
Oh, yeah.
in
Lucis
Nothing But
Trust.
Truth and Time,
Oh, yeah.
about, what did we call it? The 10 Satanic Commandments or something
Yes,
like that.
that's right. Mm-hmm.
The externalization of the hierarchy.
Oh, yeah. That book,
And
yeah.
those were, I think, altogether at
Alice
least
Bailey.
5 hours of broadcast of that, dealing with this New Age, Lucis Trust, Lucifer Trust, United Nations connections. Very interesting for people to look it up. You can find these in the playlist Nothing But the Truth. And that's not such a long playlist because I think it contains only 13 or 14 videos, so it's easy to find there.
Mm-hmm.
To return to the writings of Carroll Quigley then. Professor Quigley personally confirmed the existence of the network of helpers behind the Rhodes scheme. Quote, "I know of the operations of this network because I have studied it for 20 years and was permitted for 2 years in the early 60s to examine its papers and secret records. I have, for much of my life, been close to it and to many of its instruments. It wishes to remain unknown. I believe its role in history is significant enough to be known." Unquote. From Carroll Quigley, Jesuit professor at Jesuit-led Georgetown University. What are these instruments to which Quigley refers? Now, according to Quigley, Rhodes and his mentor Stead agreed to make, quote, "Washington, D.C. the capital of the whole organization or allow parts of the empire to become states of the American Union," unquote. If Washington was to be the seat of the Rhodes Jesuit-like secret society, could it be that the Jesuits control Washington through their acolytes, Messrs. Clinton and Bush? Could it really be the Jesuits control Washington through the American presidents? Quigley writes further in his renowned and very remarkable work, Tragedy and Hope, that the Rhodes Society of the Elect was formally established in 1891, but that its outer circle, known as the Association of Helpers, was later organized by Lord Milner as the Round Table. Money for their activities originally came from Cecil Rhodes, J.P. Morgan, the Rockefeller and Whitney families and associates of bankers Lazard Brothers and Morgan, Grenfell and Company. These are the banking corporations that run America's economy today and are just a few of the quote-unquote instruments of which Quigley speaks. Now, I cannot help, of course, to make a little bit deeper going comment when we are summing up all these banking houses here. It says here that money for their activities came from Cecil Rhodes, from J.P. Morgan, the Rockefellers, and the Whitney families and associates of bankers. Now, let's just stick with J.P. Morgan for a second. J.P. Morgan was thought to be the richest man of the United States of America, until it was discovered that he was only a pawn for the Rothschilds. The Rockefeller family got all their money from the Rothschilds. The Whitney family, I don't know. The Lazard brothers, I don't know. But Morgan is a Rothschild associate. Grenfell and Company, I don't know. But I mentioned now at least 3 times the association of this very well-known bankers, even today in 2018, and their affiliation with Rothschild. Now, why is that important? Because we always have to keep in mind the revelation that Tapasauci gave us on page 160 and 161 of his book Rulers of Evil, where it states that the Rothschilds are just the guardians of the Vatican treasury. So that means that all these companies, all these banks, were backed and financed by the Roman Catholic Church, in person by, of course, the Jesuits and their affiliate secret societies like the Knights of Malta. But this is, of course, another proof that we can take this quote-unquote British Empire in the constitutions of the Rhodes Wills and being replaced by the Roman Catholic Church for certain, because it is the Roman Catholic Church and their affiliates who sponsor, who finance all these families like J.P. Morgan, Morgan and Rockefeller and all this stuff, and they are behind it. The Roman Catholic Church just is behind that. Yeah. Did you just write something on Skype here, Brett?
Yeah, I gotta run.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, okay. I don't see that because I'm sitting outside here.
Oh, I forgot. Sorry. Yeah, that's right. I always forget these things.
Anyway, it says here, these are the banking corporations that run America's economy today and are just a few of the instruments of which Quigley speaks. Now, these banking corporations that run America's economy today are, in fact, Jesuit-controlled. They are, in fact, Rothschild-controlled. And they are, in fact, by that, Vatican bankers. All of them. No exception. As Will Banion observes in his 6-part series Rockefeller Internationalism, because of the many secret societies he spawned, Mr. Rhodes could proudly claim the accolade modern heir to Adam Weishaupt, the founder of the Bavarian Illuminati. Indeed, Weishaupt taught his disciples that the agencies of his order were never to be known by their real identities, but always under other names. We come to the next subchapter of this chapter 37, the Rhodes Gang, Instruments of the Round Table, which is called the John Birch Pilgrim Society.
Ooh, interesting. I'm back.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Now, I just had to ask because maybe that was Michael who was responding, and if so, you could have contacted him.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great to get him
because
on.
But because I'm sitting outside here, I didn't know. That's why I was asking.
Sorry. Yeah, I just, yep. It's just Mother Nature catches up with you in the morning, right?
Yeah, I know. Caught up with me 10 minutes before the broadcast. Also, that happens, yeah. Okay, I beg the reader, P.D. Stewart continues, I beg the reader's indulgence to dwell a little longer on these secret connections. Yes, please, P.D. Stewart, do that because we are learning quite a lot. In the final stages of my research for this volume, I came across a document titled The Belmont Brotherhood. It alleges that most of the founding members of the John Birch Society were high-ranking Freemasons and members of the Rhodes Scheme. This document further alleges that the John Birch Society was the foundation for another society known as the Pilgrim Society, and that both of these societies have their origins in the Cecil Rhodes Milner Round Table Group of Great Britain and are the elite of the elite. The Pilgrim Society was founded, or rather set up, in 1902, just 4 months after Rhodes died, which is when his wills would have taken effect. The Pilgrims' first international dinner was held in 1903. Well, that reminds me of the L. Smith dinner, right?
Sure. You bet.
As then, today, the members and guests of its dinners are diplomats, high-ranking soldiers, or other men of distinction in many fields, like Secretary of State Henry Kissinger.
Mm-hmm.
The patron of this pilgrim society is none other than Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Notably, several key persons who were at the secret meeting in 1913, which formed the privately owned American Central Bank, aka Federal Reserve Bank, were also pilgrims. And of course, J.P. Morgan, George F. Baker, John D. Rockefeller, Jacob Schiff, and Tony Blair, the former UK Prime Minister, were members also. Further, it is known that the Pilgrim Society runs institutions such as Barclays, National Westminster, HSBC Bank Group, the Standard Chartered Bank Group, etc. In this way, the Rhodes Pilgrim Society is truly hic et ubique, which means here and everywhere. Speaking of the power of the Pilgrim Society at the House of Commons on August 20th, 1941, Winston Churchill, who was a Pilgrim member, said, quote, "No one could stop it." Some say that not just Masonic, but also Templar and Rosicrucian influences can be found within the Pilgrim Society. The Pilgrim Society is also an arm of Skull and Bones. Francis F. Randolph of the Pilgrim Society was the treasurer of the Russell Trust, which is the official corporate name of Skull and Bones. In November 2006, Antichrist Pope Benedict XVI invited CFR member Henry Kissinger, who is a member of the Masonic Pilgrim Society and a former U.S. Secretary of State to Richard Nixon, to be his political advisor. The 83-year-old Nobel laureate was offered the high-profile role during a private audience with the Pope and will be on the Papal Advisory Board for Foreign and Political Affairs. Curiously, and perhaps no more than curiosity, Antichrist Pope Benedict, once a member of the Hitler Youth under the Nazi regime, and Henry Kissinger are not only close in age, but were both born in Bavaria, the home of Adam Weishaupt's Illuminati. Now, incidentally, Mr. Kissinger, like Adam Weishaupt and Jesuit founder Ignatius Loyola, is a Jew. Now, with this, of course, I do not agree. Adam Weishaupt was not a Jew. He was, his father was a Jew, I think, and converted. And Adam Weishaupt himself was not a Jew anymore. And Ignatius of Loyola, we know, was not a Jew. That is disinformation. That was at least 2 generations before him that they converted already to Catholicism. So you have to take that, of course, with a
that's really
grain
bizarre.
of salt.
He's got that in here.
Yeah, I think he should
really
have.
Strange.
He should have written the sentence a little bit different. But
Well,
of course,
because Ignatius Loyola is a Basque, he's not a Jew.
no, that's right. And his family is was already for a long time a noble family in Spain.
That's right.
So he was not a Jew. The only Jew in the very first foundings of the Jesuit order was Linus.
Yes.
He was the one who succeeded Ignatius of Loyola in the seat of General of the Society of Jesus. And he was not a Jew himself, but his grandfather was a converted or Marrano Jew, as they say. So his grandfather was a Jew, so his father wasn't even a Jew anymore, was Catholic, and Linus was Catholic. So that's also BS, that's also wrong information. So this little sentence here, as interesting as it is, of course, that we understand that Pope Benedict and or Cardinal Ratzinger, as is his name, and Henry Kissinger are both Bavarian, is interesting, because I think there are a lot of people don't know that Kissinger actually is German in his origin.
Is that right?
Yeah, he's from Bavaria, so it's German, right?
Interesting. Yeah. Well, that's That's really something that he has this in here. But anyway, yeah.
Now we come to Rhodes' plan to control of the media. And dear listener, before I even go into that, remind you of the papal encyclicals Miranda Prorsus and Inter Mirifica. And by that you know that it is the birthright of the Roman Catholic Church, their inherent right, as they write in this encyclical, to own and use all media, meaning television, radio, press, movies, and of course that entails today, because that encyclical is from 1963, Inter Mirifica, and there was no internet at that time, but that entails also the internet today, control of the internet, of all internet media, and of course control of all so-called alternative media also. So just before I read this part of this chapter in this book, I tell you this so I won't need to go into that anymore. Everything that we are going to read right now, you have to read through the glasses of the Roman Catholic Church, which insists that it is her inherent right to own all media. And they do. And if you have any questions on that, I can turn you to my playlist Hour of the Truth. Hour of the Truth, yeah. There you will find a video that is called "It Is Simply Amazing," where
yes.
I'm reading a newsletter from Daryl Eberhard on this chapter, on this subject, and there you can get all the information that you need to see that all the quote-unquote Jews on top of media outlets, whether be it movie companies in Hollywood, be it television series, television producers, radio producers, magnets for newspapers or magazines, and even though they are Jews, they all work for the Roman Catholic Antichrist agenda. Yeah? So I'm going to read this chapter now, or this under chapter now, but I don't go into the explanation of that anymore. Now you've had it, now deal with it. Rhodes gave explicit instructions that his secret society should own portions of the America press. The reader will recall that in his 1877 Confession of Faith, Rhodes wrote that he envisaged his secret society owning, quote, portions of the press, for the press rules the mind of the people, unquote. The Jesuit Quigley told us that one arm of Rhodes' society, quote, has been known at various times as the Times Crowd, and that in 1983 the Times newspaper had 6 Rhodes Scholars on its board. I now highlight for your attention the following statement of John Swinton, former head of the editorial staff of the New York Times, then the preeminent New York journalist and called by his peers the dean of his profession. This is what he said to his colleagues at a New York press club, and I think that was in 1800 something. I don't know. I don't see that here in the footnote, but that was in the 19th century. And I think that he said that when he left the New York Times for retirement. Yeah? He was not a journalist. He was even the editor of the New York Times, to my knowledge. Mm-hmm. Anyway, he says, and this is a quote, we all know that probably, "There is no such thing at this stage of the world's history in America as an independent press. I am paid weekly for keeping my honest opinion out of the paper I am connected with. Others of you are paid similar salaries for similar things, and any of you would be so who would be so foolish as to write honest opinions would be out on the streets looking for another job. The business of the journalist is to destroy the truth, to lie outright. We are the tools and vessels of rich men behind the scenes. We are the jumping jacks. They pull the strings, and we dance. We are intellectual prostitutes," unquote.
Wow. That's really, really, really a good admission. And that was made in what, 1915?
No, that is from sources from 1915, 1914, but I think that was in 1880 something.
Wow.
That.
Wow. So much happened back then, Jörg. And
But it is even no surprise that at
Yeah.
that time all the media was controlled by the Roman Catholic Church.
Sure.
I said that already in an earlier broadcast of the reading of Cold War Babylon, that we have to remind ourselves that the Rothschild family owns and started up Reuters news agency. And Reuters news agency is the biggest news agency in the world, next to AP, which they also control. Yeah,
right.
So, of course, there is no question that is all Roman Catholic controlled. You just have to see through the distortion, through the, it's you have to see through all the flares to find the right fire. Huh?
Yes,
like a rocket that is like a missile that is heat guided.
Right.
You can shoot these flares to distract it, but there are also missiles already who know that distraction and seek the real fire in between and still hit their goal. And that's what you have to do when you do research like this. You have to avoid all the sidewalks which lead into wrong information, which will lead you to, oh, it's the Jews that did it, oh, it's the Bilderbergers, oh, it's the CFR, oh, it's this and that. No, you have to see behind the people who are behind all of it. And of course, Brett, there is no easier way to find out who is behind all of this but reading one book and one book only, and that's the King James Bible. The King James Bible tells us from front to back that it is the Roman Catholic Church that is the woman that rides the beast and that has the control over power in the world today. Just a second.
Sure. Yeah, I think part of the problem here with that statement that P.D. Stewart made in this previous paragraph about the Jews is that really he probably meant Zionists, because they're working a Zionist agenda, right?
Yeah.
Jörg? But they're not by blood Jewish people. We can obviously find that out, but I think
you don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist.
Yeah, that's it. That's the point. Is that oftentimes you have kind of I don't know, a nice way to say this. I mean, it's really awful mess.
Is there a nice way? I don't know.
No, there isn't. It is. I just don't want to say the words because they're dirty, And
yeah, sure, but Zionism is an invention of the Jesuits.
Sure is.
Theodor Herzl, who started the Zionist movement, was Jesuit controlled. And then you don't have to forget, in the end of the 19th century, you had the Dreyfus Affair in France, which started an anti-Semitism all over Europe and was the initiator of anti-Semitism then later in Germany, which then Hitler used for the persecution of the Jews, of course.
Yes.
Yeah. And I dealt with the Dreyfus Affair in 2 or 3 readings, at least, in The Secret History of the Jesuits. So I don't know when this one comes out.
That's great. Yeah. We'll be working on that soon, Jörg. I'm going to have those coming up on my channel soon.
Yeah, I have to put it out too on my channel. So,
yeah, I'm looking forward to getting those up, brother. Those are going to be amazing.
And you have to see this interconnection. This Dreyfus Affair, that was just an initiation of anti-Semitism all over here in Europe. And this is the same thing that you will have to when you are going down the roads that they send you without any further investigation. When you don't understand that in the meantime, there's only one big perpetrator in this world, and that is the Antichrist.
Oh, and Jörg, that's such a good point. And most people in America, perhaps around the world, they just want to know instantly, well, what's the problem? Well, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to study for about 50 hours to even get started. It's huge. Yeah. It's a huge problem. It is so indoctrinated and so deep. You cannot explain to someone in an instant how the Jesuits came to be in America It's a long story.
Let us say it this way, Brett. The truth is not presented to you on a silver platter.
Yeah, on a silver charger. Yeah, right.
Yeah, you have to do your own research. You have to do own efforts to get to the bottom of the truth.
Right, and when we're talking about this Rhodes plan to control all the media,
let me just say this because of the Bible.
Yes,
in the book of Acts, it is said, and they studied the Bible daily to see if these things were so.
Yes.
Why does it say that in the Bible? Well, without studying, you don't get to the knowledge. You don't get to wisdom. I mean, the only wisdom that you can gain in this world is the wisdom that you can track out of the Bible, but knowledge that you can get from reading these secular books. But you have to do it.
Yes,
you have to do it on your own.
You have to make it fresh again. It's just like making songs, Jörg. When you make a song, you make a music, you're making something new today. It's a new creation you're making yourself today. You sing a new song unto the Lord. That's the point. And you sing it in your own way. You're very musical in ways that aren't really musical per se, but it's a spiritual song that we sing in words. It's a picture that we're trying to paint in words of how this diabolical world is trying to mask itself and cover up that evil thing so you don't even recognize it, so you don't even think it's there, so they can use you and you can become their instrument. That's the weird thing about it. Mm-hmm. Because when you start paying attention to the news and you start paying attention in the media, all of a sudden you want more because you're starting to learn their view of the world and not the Bible view of the world. So I think that's a very good point, Jörg.
Yeah, that's a very great danger. Even watching Fox News or whatever television news 5 minutes a day is a very, very dangerous thing.
Even just 5 minutes, yeah.
Mm-hmm. They don't even need more than 5 minutes to indoctrinate you with their political correctness, with their sophistry and casuistry speaking that they are doing. And all of a sudden you will have doubts. You will have doubts even on the Word of God, on the Bible, That is how the text critics worked in the 19th century that brought forth all the forgerized Bibles that we know today, like the NAV and the ESV and the RSV and the NASB and all these forgerized Bibles that are based on different texts because the quote-unquote text critics told us, well, the Textus Receptus is not the only source and it is not even the best source. Here this is a better and here this is a better. And out of their own understanding, out of their own reasoning, they are criticizing the Bible. And when you fall for that scheme, you will let loose of the 1611 King James Bible in English, and by that you will let loose of the Word of God. And if you don't have the Word of God, you cannot have a personal relationship with God. And if you don't have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, you're lost in this world.
There, you just summed it all up. There we go.
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this might be a good portion to stop, and then we'll get back to this Rhodes plan to control the media. Now, we were on the first paragraph here. I forget now. Where were we?
And we have to get on the last but one paragraph on this page, and Noam Chomsky.
Oh, Noam Chomsky. Yeah. Geez, there's another just. Wow, I can't believe how many people I know that, oh, yeah, Noam Chomsky's interesting. Yeah. Well.
And the hour is already full, Brett?
Yeah, we're close.
Okay.
We're close.
I don't see that outside here on my terrace.
No problem. But yeah, it goes quick, doesn't it?
Yeah, it goes quick.
It's fast.
Enjoying myself with
the we're just getting started. Jörg, I worked on Code Word Babylon 15 last night.
Uh-huh.
And I finished it. It's up right now. And,
wonderful.
Yep, just came up. And, on that, I thought it was really great because, it's just that, there's not much dialogue like this happening on the internet, as far as I know, about, studying Jesuitism, and, do it independently. And yeah, there's just so many different nuances going on. So I really appreciate this book P.D. Stewart put together. It's really just very well done in terms of the year it came out, 2006 or 7 or 8 or whatever it was.
2006, yeah.
Yeah, he did a really good work here. So very grateful for all the help you've given me there, brother, too, and Tom Fress, and just hope that we can get all these videos up. We got a lot to produce here.
It will come to fruition. Everything in its own time,
Yeah.
And if God, for the moment, leads us to do more readings, then you can produce videos. He has his reasons.
Right. All right, Jörg. So do we want to continue a little more, or do we want to close it up?
I know if you say we have reached almost the hour, then it is good to close it up here and finish the chapter next time when we go into another reading of Cold War Babylon. I have no problem with that. It's been a lot of information anyway for the people to understand. And just 5 minutes ago, I was thinking about something that Tom Fress said that was very appropriate in this reading here, but I can't remember now anymore. I'm sorry.
Oh, really? What was it related to? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I don't know anymore. I don't know. It's gone. I lost my train of thought because I didn't want to interrupt you in your. No, I didn't want to interrupt you in your comment, of course, because I appreciate very much what you were saying.
Good.
But
good. Yeah,
then
yeah.
I let go of it.
I know that's how it works too. It works that way with me too, brother. So no problem. I mean, this is how it goes. So
it'll come back to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was interesting. I hope also for the viewer and listener of this video, because I know that there are a lot of people who don't even watch the video but just use the audio and listen to this on their way to the in the car when they go to work or have another
same
trip
with me. I do the same thing. Yep.
Or doing something else. That's why I think, okay, the video work is also here and there interesting because we are publishing this on YouTube, and that is a visual platform, of course, a video platform. But on the other hand, I think there goes nothing above the spoken word, which is so interesting.
That's right.
That's also what the Bible says, because the Bible says in the beginning was the Word.
That's right. But the point is, it's just like with science. We have so much, both religion and science. If you can get the corruption out of science, it actually helps.
Yeah.
It actually helps our studies as well. So the point is, none of us are pure. None of us have a perfect platform or anything. But the point is, you wake up in the morning and you try your best to just throw the self off, cast the self off of you, and just become a new man. Read your Bible, and be the Word. Don't be an imitation of the Word. Be the Word. Big difference. Big difference.
Amen to that, Brad. I cease my contribution to this broadcast right here.
Goodbye, everybody. God bless, and read your King James 1611 Bible today, and start looking at those italicized words. And that's all we got. We'll catch up with you next time.
That for the first time in human history, for the first time in all of human history, almost all of mankind is politically awake. And these new and old major powers face still yet another novel reality, in some respects unprecedented. And it is that while the lethality of their power is greater than ever, their capacity to impose control over the politically awakened masses of the world is at a historical low. I once put it rather pungently, and I was flattered that the British Foreign Secretary repeated this. as follows. Namely, in earlier times, it was easier to control 1 million people. Literally, it was easier to control 1 million people than physically to kill 1 million people. Today, it is infinitely easier to kill 1 million people than to control 1 million people. It is easier to kill than to control.
We're at the very beginning stages of a very brutal and bloody conflict. And I believe that we've come horribly off track in the years since the fall of the Soviet Union. And we're starting now in the 21st century, which I believe strongly is a crisis both of our church, a crisis of our faith, a crisis of the West, and a crisis of capitalism.
His son Jesus is here in our midst. His bride, the church, is honored to host an event affirming the dignity of the human person and the sacredness of all human life.
I think Russia is no longer a communist state, first of all. That's very important to realize. It hasn't yet defined itself, however, effectively as a democracy. It is still uncertain.
We're at the very beginning stages of a very brutal and bloody conflict, of which if the people in this room and the people in the church do not bind together and really form what I feel is an aspect of the church militant, if the people in this room and the people in the church do not bind together and really form what I feel is an aspect of the church militant, to really be able to not just stand with our beliefs, but to fight for our beliefs against this new barbarity that's starting, that we will literally eradicate everything that we've been bequeathed over the last 2,025 years.
You didn't mention the president by name, but it was hard not to conclude that that's who you were referring to. Is that fair?
I was certainly referring to the threats that we are now facing with this stated goals of this administration, which would upset the last 70 years of a new world order, which was established after World War II. 70 years based on human rights, respect for the law, free trade, all of the things and aspects of this world order that took place after one of the most horrific, terrible wars in history, and I'm for maintaining it.
We are grateful to be citizens of one nation under God, who acclaim this evening that in God we trust. Bless our two candidates, our benefactors, and those whom the L. Smith Foundation has been honored to serve for 7 decades. Guide us safely home, both this evening and for all eternity, through Christ our Lord. Amen.